the fire service in Kent has got a new vehicle, an enhanced logistics unit, which I believe they had to get as one of several counties. Basically, Kent won it over Hampshire, I believe. But this vehicle's to be used regionally, so it will be used in other counties in cross-border incidents as well. But at the moment, we're only using 4G. There was also a woman from National Resilience come down, which was quite interesting, and again, interesting networking going on there as well with us. So that's all good. Apart from that, we're supposed to be doing the Hastings Half Marathon today, but unfortunately that got called off due to a major incident that's been going on for a couple of days, where somebody that lives adjacent to the start and finish of the race had some sort of liquid explosives or something in their property, and currently the fire brigade are still there assessing it and checking out chemicals and stuff. But anyway, that's enough from me. G4NRC 2E0CMS.
0 Charlie Mike Sierra G4NRC returning. Okay, yes, I did see the rather sad news that the Hastings Half Marathon had to be shut. The drums of chemicals that are being brought out of that property looks like an extreme hoarder of some description. But yes, it's going to take some time because they won't move anything unless they're sure it's safe to move, and having the right place to get it to is probably harder. If that mix of chemicals has been brought together, then you can't let them mix and you've got to dispose of them appropriately. Good news on the logistics vehicle. Shame we didn't have the same kind of regional approach we used to have for emergency procedures, etc., to see if there was some sort of commonality of equipment that could go on there. Well, comms, if nothing else, but if they enjoyed the Firelink demo, then I suppose that will get something else in there to supplant the 4G. Long, big, horrible rant that could follow about the no backup systems at Heathrow. Unfortunately, the grid supply point that decided to catch fire, the Scottish and Southern Energy Report have a thing on their website showing how that was due to be developed over the coming years, and it says quite plainly there that Heathrow has a couple of feeds, so it only fed the northeast corner of the airport, but nobody tends to have enough power around to maintain full operations consistently for a sustained period of time. So backup systems were there, but how can you do that if some of the other things, such as like the general stuff like the car park machine, which might not be treated as essential, doesn't work? So yes, there will be stuff to learn from it, but there are also some slight impossibilities. So a grid supply point next to me has 100 megawatts of batteries alongside, but fun fact, I don't think that would last more than about an hour. So you've got to really think about what you want to back up and how long you want to back it up for. Okay, we can come back to that one as a second round. Drew, Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC M0MSS. Yeah, like everybody else, I was watching, interestingly, on the Heathrow Power story. And funny enough, I just had the conversation with the wife yesterday, and it was backed up by a government story this morning, saying that maybe we should be looking at some sort of resiliency. So I thought, just a little bit too late, too little, too late. Other than that, not a lot been going on. The planning meetings for the Exmoor Challenge happened during the week, and an interesting story, which may impact other people, other groups. We normally get a lot of assistance from the Exmoor Rescue Organisation. They normally come along and operate as sweeps, as well as checking the children's kit. And they've been told this year that their insurance does not cover that sort of operation, and that if we need Exmoor Rescue, we will have to call them out with 999. So that was a bit of a surprise. It means we're going to have to man the sweeps and it looks like we're looking at the scouts to do that. So that was a bit of a surprise. I don't know if anyone else has seen anything like that from M0 MFS.
Mike Foxtrot Sierra G4NRC. Many years ago, I did recall or hear somebody querying whether or not 4x4, but mountain rescue groups and others who were doing public service events might have been given a little reminder that they were there as emergency organisations. But it never really came to anything, and they never stopped covering anything, as from what I could see. So it is an interesting bit of intelligence that. If the insurance are getting tougher, I wonder what went on a particular event. Back to the resilience piece, that's why I kind of put in that grid yards tend to be designed with resilience, multiple feeds, multiple ways out, etc. But once somebody starts waving hose pipes around, you do tend to have to turn it all off. Otherwise, somebody's going to get ouchies. So that is the sideline of once a fire incident happens, fire service says turn it off, it gets turned off until the fire goes out, and then normal service can try and be resumed with whatever's left that hasn't burned. So it's how much you want to do, but the other interesting thing about that open infrastructure map is you can spot certain parts of the country where that degree of resilience you might be looking for just geographically can't exist because people live on peninsulas. So there aren't that many diverse routes in and out. Okay, Drew, thanks for that. And Phil finishes the first round. Golf 4 Hotel Uniform Foxtrot, G4NRC, over.
This is G4HUF, yep. Okay, Greg, thanks for that. Bizarre situation to be in, last on the list, but not to worry. It's my own fault. I was too busy concentrating on, shall we say, some preparations for what maps I need to get. And I've printed out the list of checkpoints. Interestingly enough, 3 on that list didn't have grid references. Oh yes, they have the what 3 words, but I'm old-fashioned, mate. You know, I prefer to use national grid references, as they used to be known. I think they're known as something else now, aren't they? So trying to sort that one out, which is an interesting exercise. I'm not going to worry about that open infra map. I mean, if Stephen's going to look at it, well, I'll leave it to him. He can be our open infra map expert in the group as far as that's concerned. What else was I going to mention? Yes, on a positive note, there is a very good chance that we might have a group committee soon. So you've got that to look forward to, Greg, which is very encouraging from all points of view. And one of the potential members chucked out an email this afternoon and was asking the question about access for filing documents on the RAYNET system for groups. I presume that he's meaning access to a section of the system for a secure part of the system for just the group's use, not generally available type stuff. But not to worry, I need to explore that one further, and we can talk to you later about that and get some ideas. So that's what's been going on at this end. I'm thinking about Suffolk as well as local activities. G4NRC, this is G4HUF.
for HUF, G4NRC returning. Okay, going forward this time rather than reverse, just check if you're converting what 3 words into NGRs, just do a sanity check on what it throws out. An event we've both helped on in the past, run by Staffordshire, I ran their what 3 words through, and one of them dumped me up in Scotland. It was nowhere near the course. Well, I say up in Scotland, just saying that for effect, but it was nowhere near the actual course. So I had to sort of work backwards by description to figure out where the checkpoint was and then go back and verify. So smart move in checking beforehand, and just caution, making sure somebody hasn't had some finger trouble in typing words out. The file store is probably, if I remember right, in Office 365, you have got for Dane Valley a SharePoint and or a Teams group set up. And the way Jill was doing it at one point was adding every member of the group to those Teams or SharePoint areas. So you will have one. I kind of messed ours up in West Cheshire because I wanted to have it more for committee use only as a committee mailing list, which didn't totally work out when people kept getting added onto it. So need to go back and think about that at some point. Okay, thanks for that, and we'll carry on with the Dane Valley theme, going back to the top of the list, and back to Stephen. Mike 7, Victor Sierra Delta, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, this is Mike 7, Victor Sierra Delta. Yes, that's the trade-off with the resilience, isn't it? You can have generators, but that's only gonna run so much. To run Heathrow, you need your own power station, which is a bit impractical. So it's the trade-off. What non-essential loads do you cut off, and what do you keep? Which, I don't think a lot of people, average people on the street, understand that. They expect the whole place to keep on operating no matter what. Well. G4NRC, this is Mike 7 Victor Sierra Delta, dropped out a little bit there, but yeah, should have an answer by Tuesday as to whether we can have a meeting at our squadron. That one's for Phil, before HUF. So should have an answer on Tuesday night as to whether we can or we can't. Over.
Victor Sierra Delta, G4NRC returning. Yes, noted the dropouts. Seemed to hold on a little bit on Brandmeister a bit longer than the other side did, so I'm not quite sure what happened. So resilience and trade-offs, what was around that? So take it away from airports. There is a requirement for top-tier COMA sites, that's the Control of Major Accident Hazards sites, on the HSE website to have a feed from 2 grid supply points, geographically separated, with exactly that kind of game that you don't want something going boom just because of a lack of electricity. So if you've had from 2 GSPs, it must be better. Unfortunately, Heathrow is not treated as a major accident hazard, or maybe fortunately, depending on your point of view, if you like flying or not. So yes, this is the hard part, and I'm not sure people are going to like even more roads getting dug up to put more crosslinks in. But yes, expectations are high, and generator running, figure in my head, 1,000 litres of diesel a day it takes to keep a megawatt generator just ticking over, and that's just tick over, don't ask it to do much. So yes, they do have a bit of a drink problem if you need sustained backup power. Okay, thanks Stephen, 7 days to you, see you next week, and Mike, Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC from GAEEY. Yes, well, from the top. Yeah, obviously with having people feeding into news programs, clean feed in their ear of program sound, put their voice back on there with any form of delay, like via satellite or phones, and you can turn a perfectly erudite person into a gibbering idiot, because you cannot continue to talk while you've got yourself coming back at a different time. Backups, well, we tended to use UPSs and generators, but basically they run or maintain for about 20 minutes, which is long enough to get somebody to jump in their car and go in and shut servers down as soon as possible. But the one thing that takes all the power in most of these locations is air conditioning for the systems, computers and so on, databases. They all soak up a lot. The main sort of area control in Norwich, they've got 2 geographically separated power feeds, 2 geographically separated generator feeds. Everything is duplicated. But there's always a point where there's a switch over between them, and that is your single point of failure. In the past, we used to have air cadets volunteering to help with RAYNET, but many, many years ago, we were notified that air cadets are no longer, or have been no longer, allowed to do that for probably about a decade or so. When it comes to locations of manning points and so on, grid references, what 3 words? I've actually been to the level of going around and visiting them all physically, because sometimes they can be really weird and not where they think they are. But thanks for running the net, Greg, and look forward to hearing from you next week from G8EEY.
Yeah, that was my bad that time. Golf Echo Echo EG4 and RC returning. Right. Oh, what was interesting in that? You're making me think now, because on our marathons or half marathons, I'm sure we have air cadets helping, or certainly used to have, because one of them was an amateur, not Stephen, who would frequently listen in on what we were doing, so he knew what was happening. Just a little bit of a check and see if that still persists. And it will be a separate exercise than net to itself to actually go through doing a power budget for backup power just for RAYNET uses and see what's the over-consumer or the surprising over-consumer of electricity. Anyway, thanks for the insights, Mike. 7 threes to you. Graham, how are we doing on the views? Have we bored people yet? 37NEH, G4 and RC, over.
G4 NRC, G7NEH. Yeah, okay, so at the moment we've got 6 views and a total of 6 viewing and a total of 20 views in all. My apologies for the lack of audio on the first part of the stream. That's been rectified now, so audio is fine. And I'm actually streaming using OBS on Linux this afternoon, not Windows. So I had to set up a totally new stream, etc. And apart from the lack of audio for the first couple of minutes, all seems to be going well. So with that, not a lot else to add from this end. G4NRC, G7NEH.
G7NEH, G4 and RC returning. Okay, no problem, Graham. Having to totally fresh install is what I'm trying to avoid on my the second PC. It sits alongside me on the desk where I'm looking at dashboards. It needs a operating system update, but it's looking way too complicated to keep putting it off because I know I will break some essential bit of setup somewhere in there. So, thanks for doing the stream anyway, and all part of the learning experience, and people will get the full audio next week. So 7 threes to you. Trevor, G4KUJ, if and when my Arden node chooses to reboot, I've turned off the WireGuard and gone back to the regular legacy feed, so I can connect to you just to prove we've got the tunnel working in both directions. G4KUJ, G4 and RC, over.
G4NRC, G4KUJ. Yep, okay, Greg, thanks for that, and I'll just leave things alone at this end and just leave it ticking over. I think it's been running for about 3 days now with no breaks. Another couple of stations locally who are getting AR300s going, one of whom has managed to break one of them and is busy rebuilding it, I think, at the moment. For some reason, when you tried to put my server information and put it into the tunnel setup, it threw up all sorts of strange error messages, which I've never ever seen and didn't know anything about. But he thinks he's somehow upset the AR300 and he's going to reboot it with the software again. Okay, nothing more from me. All being well, should be around next week. G4NRC, G4KUJ, and thanks for running the net.
KUJ, G4NRC returning. Okay, well, hopefully those guys will get hooked up onto Arden, and it does kind of reinforce the point that some of the data networking is just harder to learn the networking than learn the RF parts. I've gone a bit backwards this weekend, given the illness running through the family. I'm not exactly looking forward to going back to work tomorrow either, but I will finish off upgrading my systems here and then get back to putting some services on. See what we can do. Okay, Colin, round 6. Oh, there's an idle question for Colin. The Hastings Half Marathon stop. At least you had plenty of notice of that for given when the other incident started. But I'm wondering what procedures you've got for waving members off. Had that closure occurred a little bit closer to start time? 2 Echo Zero, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4NRC. Over.
Yeah, from 2E0 CMS. Yeah, I mean, we used email, obviously, but also SMS messages as well. Well, because we haven't actually got the contact details for the people that were down in Sussex. So that was done through their controllers. But yeah, that seems to work reasonably well, and we request acknowledgement as well, so we can chase up anybody that doesn't respond. Just a quick thing for Phil G4HUF to do with grid references and stuff. If he goes on the internet, preferably on a PC rather than a tablet, and go to gridreferencefinder.com. You can type in all manner of references in there, and it shows you the grid reference ordnance survey, the eastings and northings, and latitudes and longitudes in decimal and degrees and minutes, what 3 words, gives you the address and the postcode as well. So just by tapping one of them in, you can get all of them. So that's quite useful for cutting and pasting into deployment documents. That's gridreferencefinder.com. Thanks for running the net, Greg, and hopefully catch up with you next week. G4NRC 2E0 CMS.
Zero, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4NRC. No problem, thank you, Colin. I knew you'd have good practice to trot out straight away for that one. But a useful reminder for others. It is a concern for some of our events where we have people who come on over a longer time, so you don't get people together for a rendezvous before the event, but have them dropping in direct to locations on strung out ones. So getting the message out and stopping aborted journeys is useful. Noted the gridreferencefinder.com website. I use streetmap.co.uk, which I think will also convert lots of things to lots of things. Was worried about that at one site at one point when it was going through getting sold, but luckily it doesn't seem to have massively increased its advertising and is still a useful non-Google alternative. So, next to Drew, Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot, Sierra, G4 and RC, over.
G4 and RC and 0MFS. Okay. Two things, I suppose, that I was going to mention last time. I did the group renewals yesterday, and I was really pleased to find we had an online SharePoint forum which implied that it was going to help me along, and then really disappointed to find that I still had to punch in every single call sign and name. I'm sure we could manage to do a slightly better automated renewals that at least populated the current members and gave you a checkbox to say yay or nay, rather than, I guess it took me nearly 45 minutes to go through, and I've only got 15 members. But anyhow, such is life. It's better than having to print it out, type it onto a page, and then scan it back. But not quite sure when I get a call from Jill to say I missed somebody off, but we'll have to wait for that one. And then, just as an FYI, I used to work in Nigeria for a telco, MTN, and we used to be the second biggest power generator in Nigeria, and we could run the whole cellular infrastructure, including our main data centers, off of diesel generators. And indeed, due to the power situation in Nigeria, we did run them off diesel generators for an average of 75% of the time. So this stuff is totally doable, but it does take money. And on that, I shall probably say 73s to everybody. Thanks for running the net, and catch you all next week from M0MFS.
Mike Foxtrot, Sierra, G4 NRC returning. Yeah, I have the same line-by-line issue with the SharePoint form, but the challenge is for occasionally about the obvious reasons. Don't want to link the membership database back into a totally separate Office 365 environment, which is what would have to be done to make that work. But yes, I would equally just like the idea of here's a sheet, renew everybody, and just let it rip. But the lack of database interface is what stops that one going. I think I could use the same punchline there. It can be done. You just need money and time, but mostly the time to make sure it's done and defendable. Okay, thanks, Drew. Thanks for that. See you maybe next week. And rounding off the net today, it's Phil, G4HUF, G4NRC, over.
This is G4HUF, right. Okay. Interesting afternoon again, or interesting net show, definitely, as far as that's concerned. Thanks for calling for that website. That's something I will explore. As it happened, I had, 3 words in the ice mapping function up alongside each other on the screen, and it was fortunate that the 3 word locations were accurate. So, with a little bit of effort, I was able to sort out the missing grid references. And of course, I'd succeeded in doing that exercise, looked at the time and thought, oh dear, I'm late. As far as the grid, the net this afternoon was concerned. So that one worked out well. And when you start talking about additional power requirements and things, in a previous appointment, I used to attend Aintree in a, I hate to say this, but professional capacity, and I'm not going to expand on that. But the amount of auxiliary generators that were there, I mean, there was one location where they had, shall we say, several containers stacked up, one above the other and alongside each other to provide additional power for the facilities that were required on site. And I would imagine that the vast amount of that power was probably for hospitality purposes rather than for providing essential services. So, yeah, we can appreciate what's required as far as power is concerned. So I think that's everything that I wanted to comment on. I'm starting to waffle, so I shall shut up. Pass it back to you, Greg. Thanks for running that, and I feel privileged and honoured to be the last station to be called in this afternoon. G4NRC, this is G4HUF.
G4NRC returning. No problem, Phil. Glad to hear everybody else found it interesting today. So we'll bring it to a close. So thanks everybody for taking time out to participate this afternoon. Be careful, have a good week, and until next Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time, I'll close the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net on top groups 23531 Pheonix and Brandmeister and 502331 on the RAYNET-UK system, and return the network to an open net rather than directed net. If you're watching on YouTube, then please do hit the like and subscribe buttons to help Graham understand who's watching. And meanwhile, 7-3s to everybody. This is G4NRC now closing and reverting to my normal call sign of Golf Zero, Delta Uniform Bravo. Bye-bye.
Golf 4 Hotel Uniform Foxtrot. This is Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray. You still on, over?
G3ZHX, this is G4HUF. Yes, I'm still here, young man. I was expecting a call, but not from you, but don't worry about it. I'm more than delighted to talk to you. This is G4HUF, over.
G4HUF from G3ZHX. I just wanted to put in another vote for Open Map. Sorry, not Open Street Map. That's a different one entirely. Street Map. I've just tried Grid Finder, and you have to sign.